Welcome to this Visual Studio 2010 demonstration. Today we're going to create a Windows Azure project, then review some of the web role settings. We'll change some page markup and then deploy the project to the management portal, to a hosted service. My name is Jajinder Rai and I'm going to walk you through this demonstration. Let's proceed. So the first thing we'll do in Visual Studio is go ahead and create a new project. I'll then select Cloud on the left hand side, then a Windows Azure project. I'll change the folder to a different folder on my machine to Azure Development, and then you can see the location's changed correctly, and we'll just call this Windows Azure Project 1 for now, and then we'll allow Visual Studio to create a directory for the solution under this location. I'll now click OK, and we should have a wizard pop-up. So as you can see from the interface, there are different types of Windows Azure projects that we can create. We have an ASP.NET web role, which is a classic ASP.NET role. We can have an ASP.NET MVC2 web role, a WCF Windows Communication Foundation Service web role, a worker role to process some information in the background, which can talk to other roles, and a CGI web role. So I'll select a classic ASP.NET web role for now and add this to the Windows Azure solution and then click OK. As you can see, we have our classic ASP.NET website created as part of the solution as we navigate through, which is in the web role 1. And we also have our Windows Azure project name here, and our roles that we selected, which is a web role. Every Windows Azure project has a service configuration file, and we also have a service definition file. And those files will get modified in several different ways. But what we'll do first of all, let's actually go through some web settings. We'll right click on the Windows Azure project, then we'll go ahead and click on Properties. From here we can actually go ahead and create some pre-build and post-build, just like a standard Visual Studio project. And then under Development, it does go ahead and start the Windows Storage emulator, and it's set to true. We have the Windows Azure Compute emulator and also the Azure Storage emulator as part of the Windows Azure SDK. So let's go ahead and now change some of the markup in this page. So I'll say this is welcome to Windows Azure. Then we'll just copy some text here and change the URL to microsoft.com/Windows Azure. I'll copy this URL and paste that into here. This will be a Windows Azure website. And I'll remove this complete paragraph from the markup completely. So we'll actually go to my design view. It loads the master page. And there you can see that the markup's actually been changed. Let's go through some quick settings within the role. And we can actually click on the role, right click, then go ahead and click on Properties. And we can see that there are some settings here for the actual role that gets deployed to Windows Azure. For example, we have the number of instances that we can have. So as a minimum, when we deploy the project in terms of the service package to Windows Azure, it'll warn us and say that if you only have one instance, there's no redundancy. So by default it requires you to have two, but you have to override that. We'll see that later on. We can also set different VM sizes, and these are small, extra small, medium, large, and extra large. I'll leave the VM size set to small for now. We can also set the HTTP endpoint type, whether it's HTTP, or if I had some certificates installed, it can be a HTTPS endpoint as well. And we've also enabled some diagnostics, so we can actually view those in the compute emulator. And it uses development storage equals true, in which case you'll need SQL Server Express installed, or a full version of SQL Server installed, where a database is created for local storage. There are some more settings under here, which are the application settings, and at the moment by default it actually creates one for the local development storage. There's also different endpoints we can have, which are inputs or internal, different protocols, HTTP, HTTPS or TCP. We can also add more local storage if we wish by just giving a storage name. We'll say local store 1, and then the default is 50 meg, but I'll say it's 100. And we can also choose to clean or recycle. We have to remember that within Windows Azure that local storage is temporary. If we do want to keep the storage on Windows Azure and not lose the information in the storage, we have to create some shared storage within the management portal. We can also add certificates and also activate Windows Azure Connect, which allows you to connect back to your local computers. That's all the settings for now. Let's actually close this and save all the settings. So let's for example, that's our project built, and now what we want to do is go ahead and actually let's go ahead and debug this first. So I'm going to press F5. We'll go ahead and click on this play button. And it's useful to see the output window to see exactly what's going on in terms of the build, and the messages on the bottom left where it's currently packaging the deployment and now it's running the deployment. What will happen now is the local storage emulator will get started, and so will the compute emulator, as well as the ASP.NET website. So there we have it. Here's our ASP.NET application. It's responding well. And then what we can do is click on the toolbar in the system tray and right click on this icon, and we can actually show the compute emulator UI and the show storage emulator UI. If I click on the show compute emulator UI, this will start up a Windows Azure Management tool. And we can see that the deployment number is incremented every time that you do a deployment. We have some service details, which is the service name that gets deployed, the interface type, the URL and the port number, and the IP address, where at the moment when it's debugging it goes to your local IP address with a loopback address. We have our project, and we have some debug info, which is in this screen here. When I expand the web role, I can see that I have one instance running. When I select the instance, I can see that all the things that are going on at the time when the actual project's been loaded. Let's go back to Visual Studio, and I'll press Shift and F5 to actually stop this from running, and the website should close down too. Now let's go ahead and change the web role settings. Go to Properties and change the instance count to 2, and then save these settings. If I now press F5 again, we'll let this run the deployment. It shouldn't take too long. I can see that the website's now up, but I actually have 2 deployments running. I can see that there's 2 instances, and they're both started currently. What I can do in this case is actually go ahead and review the WAIS host settings under the processes and see what's going on. So let's go ahead and see that now. So we have Windows Azure and IIS host running here, and these are the 2 processes running. I can actually end one of these processes and say end process, and we can see that the process instance 1 had been killed, but then it starts another process automatically. That's the inherent behavior of Windows Azure. If any process does end, it will automatically start another instance as specified within the cloud service configuration. Let's go ahead and now press Shift F5. I'll go ahead and click on the web role, go to properties and set this back to 1, save all the settings. And now what we'll do, we'll right click on the Windows Azure project and I'll click publish. Rather than deploying directly to the Windows Azure from Visual Studio, I want to show you how we can go ahead and deploy it from the solution files manually, from the configuration file as well as the package file. So let's click on Create Service Package Only in this case. Then I'll click OK. And we can see that there's various outputs going on here. And we have our Publish Cloud Service Configuration file and the Windows Azure Cloud Service Package. Our solution there. So I'm going to copy these for now and copy them into the Azure Package folder. Then I'll just copy the existing ones that were already there. Let's close Windows Explorer. Now I'm going to go to the Windows Azure Management Portal. I'm already signed in. And let's go to Home. And this is where you'll manage all your Windows Azure services through your subscription. So let's go ahead and create a new hosted service for this package. And this is my current subscription that I have. If you had several, you'll see several listed here. I'll give this a name for the service. I'll just say this is my test deployment. And then we can enter a URL, which is appended by cloudapp.net as a domain. If I go ahead and type in a name, it'll tell us whether the actual namespace has already been used. So let's create one with a different number, which may not be used. What we can now do is go ahead and choose a region or affinity group, and we have anywhere in the US, South Central US, North Central US, anywhere in Europe, North Europe, West Europe, anywhere in Asia, Southeast Asia and East Asia currently. What we can also do is, if we had several worker roles and several different projects which need to work together as a solution, we can actually go ahead and create an affinity group. An affinity group ensures that all your roles that you develop within your solution actually run on the Windows Azure platform within the same data center. In this case, I'll just select choose region for now, and I'll select anywhere in the US. We have an option to actually deploy the Windows Azure project on the package to a staging environment, or deploy it to a production environment. For now, I'll leave it set to deploy to staging environment. We can also choose to start after a successful deployment. In this case, I'm going to unselect that for now. I can also give it another name, so I'll just call it test deployment for now. And then we need to browse for the package location as well as the configuration file. So now click browse locally, and I can see that I'm in my local drive under the Azure package folder. So here's my Windows Azure Project 1 cloud package. I'll click open, and I also have to select the configuration file for the cloud service. Now that's done, I can go ahead and click OK. So as you can see, we've been given a warning by Windows Azure. We can review the details, saying that a deployment with at least one role with only one instance. We recommend that you deploy at least 2 instances per role to ensure high availability in the case that one instance becomes available. I'll override this for now and say yes, I'm happy with the configuration. Then what happens, the deployment continues. So it's creating the hosted service. I'll go ahead and deploy and add this to Windows Azure under my subscription. What we can also do is actually review how much time's left, and we can see that on the bottom left hand side of Windows Azure. So about 9 seconds to wait to see have the page refresh and see what's going on. Okay, so it's continue the deployment now. We just have to wait a little bit longer and let it deploy. So that's the end of this demonstration.